Okay, Iman, we want to write a program that takes 8 numbers and puts them in an array, and they then sends the numbers to the class. In the class, we want to calculate the sum of the numbers and return the answer to the main program and display it there.
Okay, this is a simple program. First, as always, I'm going to create my project. I'm going to call it calculate sum. So first let's remove these comments. Okay, now as I want to get 8 numbers from my user, obviously I'm going to import my scanner from the Java library. Then I want to put these 8 numbers into an array, so I will need an array to be filled by those 8 numbers. So this is how we create an array with a float type, float nums. Yeah, new float and 8. Okay, this means that I have an array with 8 values in it. So now it's time to ask my user to give me his or her numbers. Here I ask my user to enter numbers. Enter 8 numbers to be exact. Then I'm going to fill my arrays with those numbers. So I need a for loop to fill my array. Say for until I equal 0 until my I reaches 8
So
I plus plus. Yes.
So the index starts from 0
and it goes
to
up to
7?
7. Yeah.
Right.
Because I have 8 values in my array, and arrays always starts from 0. So I will need to go up until 7 index to get all those 8 numbers from the user. So here I use my scanner to fill this num I array. So it's equal to input dot next float. It's nums, and this part is actually as I forgot, I need to mention that first you need to define your scanner in your main class. So scanner input is equal to new scanner and system.in.
Yeah, we should always write this line
When we want to use a a scanner. Yeah,
For inputs, yeah.
Yeah, I explained this part. I explained these parts before in my other lessons. So if you want to, you can always check out those last lessons if you don't remember or if you don't recall these parts of the line, these parts of the codes. And don't forget to subscribe us and like our videos as well.
Yeah, but I should search always for your channel.
No, I
What
will
should I
put
do?
the link. I will put the link of our channel in the description of this video, so you can find it below this video and go check out the other videos as well and subscribe to
Yeah.
us.
Yeah, right.
So after this part, nums I equal to input next float is now my array is filled with those 8 numbers by the user. So what I have to do is to create a class from this project because I want to calculate the sum of the numbers in that class. So let's call that class sum. Let's get rid of the comments. And here we need to create a method to calculate the sum of our numbers. So our method is going to be public, and it's going to send the return value variable to the main project. So I'm going to define it as a float in output, and also it is a static method because I'm not going to create an object with this method. I'm just going to use it to calculate my 8 numbers. So the name of it, I want to say calculate sum, and it also has an input as a float numbers, has an array input because I'm going to connect this array to this array that I just created and calculate my 8 numbers. So I'm going to need another variable called sum. It's going to be a float sum variable equal to 0. At last I'm going to use this sum variable to return. I'm going to return this sum variable to the main project and use it there. So let's calculate our 8 numbers, the sum of our 8 numbers, using a for loop. So again, int I equal to 0. I goes up until 8, and I plus plus, add another variable every time to the I. So here I say sum equals sum plus numbers and index I. This will calculate, this line will calculate the sum of the numbers in the in this array with that 8 numbers and put the calculated value in the sum variable. And after that I'm going to return this sum variable to my main program and use it there. So in my main program, I'm going to call out that method in my class using its name. As you can see, I'm using the same name as my class. So sum dot, and here after I enter a dot, I can see my method that I created in that class.
Yes. Can you try again? Some dot.
Yeah, sum dot. Yes.
Yeah, I see there. We have a float at the end of a statement. Yeah, what is this?
It means it has a float. It has a float input. My class has a float input. Output. Yeah, output.
Yeah, the type of outputs.
The type of its output is float.
Yeah, same.
So here, I'm going to connect these two arrays with each other in my class, in my main project. Then,
but our class has a output, and we should put output in a new variable in the 22 line.
Yeah, we also need to put the output of our class into another variable here in our main project. So going to call this one calculated sum. And
yes, or we can print it. Yeah.
Yeah, or we can print it just right away. I'm going to write a print statement now. System.out.println. Here I'm going to say the sum of 8 numbers is, here is plus this calculated sum. So let's run our project with each other. Okay, it's asking me to enter 8 numbers. Say 8, 5, 44, 5.1, 11, 33, 2.3, and 2. Okay. As you can see.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
As you can see,
but I have a question. Yeah.
Yes, you can ask your question.
So what we need to do to call a new class is to write the class name and point, then the method name, and give it the input if necessary. And if our class has an output, we have to display it or put it in a variable of of appropriate type.
Yes, you are correct.
Right. Okay. And can you run your program line by line?
Okay, I'm going to run my program line by line. So using the F4 button on my keyboard, we'll do that. Okay. So using the F8 and F7 button on my keyboard, I'm going to go to the next lines. So here it wants 8 numbers from me. So I'm going to give it 8 numbers or more. uh, have this information that if you give the program more than 8 numbers, it's not going to matter, because it will only count the first 8 numbers that you entered. So I think that would be enough. Let's go to the next line, and here, as you can see in my nums array, it's going to be filled with the numbers that I entered: 75, 44, 55. These are the numbers that I entered here, as you can see. Okay, I got all the 8 numbers. Here, it will send me to my class to calculate the sum of the numbers. And as you can see in my numbers array, I have the exact same values that I had in my nums array in the main project. So this line will calculate the sum using this for, and as you can see, it's adding these numbers with each other. It goes up in an ascending way to get to the until this I, my index of my for loop, gets to 7. Then it will return the sum variable to the main project. So as you can see, I'm returned to the main project, and the value of the sum has been put into this variable, calculated sum. As you can see, it's 299.4, and at last it's going to print out the this variable here in the output. We can see it, and that's the end.
Now we want to create another class in which it calculates the average of numbers inside the array and display the result in the class.
Okay, we need to create another class here. Let's call it AVE for average. Has some comments. Okay, our method is similar to our last method. It's a public static method, but this time I'm going to create a void type of method, because in this class I'm going to print out the results in the class, not in the main project. So it's a public static void it's called average, and I'm going to I'm not going to give it an input, because I already have the sum of the numbers calculated in my sum class, so I'm going to use that. But first I'm going to need to create a variable as a float called AVE. Then using this class, say sum dot calculated numbers. Okay, what's an input from me in the class? So as is obvious, I'm going to need the input from my original main project. So let's call it float numbers again. And okay, this will give me the sum of the numbers. I'm going to put that in my average variable, but also divided by 8. And in the end, I'm going to print out the results using a println statement saying the average of 8 numbers is then plus AVE.
So you use void because your class does not return anything?
Yeah, it does not have an output.
Okay, right.
So in my main project, I'm going to connect my connect this main project to the AVE class. So here I'm going to write the name of my class and dot, and here you are. There's a method that I created, so I use that and gives it my array.
And do we use the same method as before?
No, we use a different method. This average. This is an average method from the AVE class. It's different from what's in the sum class and the method in the sum class called calculate sum.
I mean that if we want to call a class, we should write the name of the class and then point and then method.
We should
Always?
write the. We should always write the name of the class, and then with a point, as you said, or dot, we select our method in that class, and if needed, gives it the input.
Yeah, and if our class has output, we should put the output in the variable of print. And if our class doesn't have a output, we should just call the class.
Yes, in this case, one of our class has an output, the sum class. As you can see, it had an output, and I use it to print the result in my main project. But in my AVE class, we don't have an output, so we just call the class, and the program prints out the results in the class, not in the main project.
Yeah, right.
So, any questions before I run the program?
No, thanks.
Okay, let's run our program, and gives it 8 numbers. Okay, as you can see, the average of our 8 numbers is 25.44499, and the sum of our 8 numbers is this number, 203.599.
Yes.
Any questions?
No, thank you for the lesson today. And I try to review your video. Thank you.
Yes, you're
Have a
welcome.
good day.
You have a good day too, and don't forget to subscribe and like our videos. And as I said, I'm going to put the link of our channel in the description. So
Yeah, sure.
have a
Sure.
good day and goodbye.
Bye.